able in the pass off from a BDR to sales to hand them a buying group as opposed to a single person, then we can say, okay, how's that impact the win rate? Because in both cases, we're doing a discovery meeting, right? Sales is doing a discovery meeting. What's the impact of that conversion from the discovery meeting to close one, right? And what we're seeing is, on the low end, like a 25% relative improvement in conversion rate. So if our close rate from win discovery to one is 10%, it bumps up to 12.5%, which is significant, right? But I've got multiple clients and some huge clients that are saying 275%, 400% improvement, right? And holy cow, right? That's usually dramatic, and that ties back to, that's why I get so enthusiastic about, we have to. It's not. We can't buy our way out of this, but we have ways to improve the win rate by 25%, 50%, 400%. We should be really focused on that, right? And then everybody's like, okay, cool. I kind of get, right? You're passing 3 people. That means that the quality's gone up, the thresholds go up. What about volume, right? And what's fascinating is the immediate assumption is volume is going to go down because the threshold went up, right? But because we're looking at and leveraging every signal that's available to us, as opposed to, that only 2% of the people that come on our website at max are going to fill out a form, right? And maybe half of those turn into MQLs. So we're only really getting exposure to 1% of the activity on our website. When we leverage all of that, right, what we're actually doing is identifying new opportunities, either that were hidden in our existing database or overlooked in our existing base, or hidden in the market that we didn't even know about. And so I have organizations that are like, yeah, we're basically bringing new opportunities from our existing database, where like 15% of the people that were overlooked we're elevating to active, right? We're not winning 15%, but we're bringing 15% more of that volume in as active sales cycles. And we're bringing in, 5% of the market that's been hidden from us. The key, right, is by making this transformation, making this transition, it's improving quality and quantity and having huge impact on revenue. So that's how we're selling this, or that's what people are buying now, is kind of this clear understanding of, we can't do what we're doing anymore. We got to change. The secret is efficiency and insight and leveraging all this incredible information that we just overlook, and that's such a waste, right? So I'll get off my soapbox. I think we're getting close to the end of time anyhow.
Yeah, we're approaching time, but one more question on my side. You mentioned a lot about signals, and I'd be curious about the. I guess I'll make a statement and then a question around the trends. So I've noticed with signals in our ABX clients, because we do a fair amount of consulting in that area, there seems to be some indigestion of signals, like the sales team doesn't exactly know what to do with third-party signals, for example. Do you have either any advice, or have you seen any trends with first-party or third-party signals that would be worth kind of sharing?
So the most important thing you said, John, was they don't know what to do with them.
Right.
And signals sort of got the reputation of, it's a silver bullet. It's not, right? It's what I want to do is aggregate signals, right? And so, a third-party intent signal of itself is interesting, and I can send it to BDR or sales and go, hey, this is better than a completely cold call, right? But if I, for example, saw an MQL, right, and then said, hey, what else is available? And I could see that MQL has, 5 people anonymously, first-party intent that came on the website. That's a really good indicator there's something going on, as opposed to the MQL where there's nothing. The MQL where there's nothing, either number one, they don't represent the needs of the business, or they may be doing really early stage research. But in both cases, right, if I take that person and I give it to the BDR to qualify based off of that MQL signal, in that situation, they're not ready to talk to sales. They're going to blow off the BDR. They're going to ignore them, right? And so I think the key is signals are crucial. They're not the silver bullet in themselves, but it's how I use it and how I aggregate to really have the insight. That's the crucial thing. right? And so some signals, the response is, I'm going to put you in a digital program. I'm going to target you, right? Other signals, I'm bringing the BDR in, but it's just understanding what you need to do and how you leverage all the insight from those signals. Okay?
So Terry, I'm curious. Is this something that marketing should be leading?
Well, so number one, this needs to be collaborative, right? But marketing's role has definitely evolved and changed, right? And so marketing plays a much more significant role in getting the buyer through that research process into the shortlist than just producing an MQL, right? That doesn't mean that sales isn't involved in that piece, but what it does mean is the conversation that sales is having is not a sales conversation; it's an education and support conversation, right? So I would think, yes, the marketing is probably way more dominant and has more responsibility than before. But the other key point is, this needs to be a very collaborative effort all the way through the process between marketing and the BDRs and sales.
Yeah. So maybe the word is collaboration versus alignment. I think that's the shift we want to make. And by the way, your office mate is adorable.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's Winnie. Yeah, and then she that's her favorite spot.
Aw.
Well, excellent. I think we're right at time here. So I'll give you both last words here. Any closing thoughts, Meg, on your side?
I think we are at the beginning of an exciting time in B2B. I think the beginnings of exciting times sometimes feel kind of scary and messy and all those things that we don't like. But at the same time, I think the fact that people are opening their minds to re-examining the way that we're doing things to understand why they're not working. And then hopefully with enough emphasis on the need to change, we will see that change. So I'm cautiously optimistic that this is actually the beginning of a great phase. But Terry, what do you think?
I 100% agree with what you said. Right. I think we're at an inflection point. I personally get excited just from a marketing perspective because I think this is a